and welcome to the Holy Hour podcast. It's the bi-weekly All Cure podcast. I'm Gavin, and I'm joined by Chaz. How's it going, my man?
It's going good. Actually, going great.
Awesome. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We got another big one for you guys out there. So, yeah, this was pretty crazy. Not only, I think it was within a span of a week, you had texted me, yeah, I think Phil Thornalley's down to talk to us. And I was like, sweet, pacing around, freaking out. And maybe like 2 days later, you're like, don't hate me, man. And I was like, what happened? And then you're like, Dave Allen might be down to talk to us too. And
yeah.
And then I said, I hate you. And I said, no way, man. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So, we got Dave. We talked to Dave, and we're going to share this episode with you guys. And wow, it's pretty surreal for sure.
Yeah.
So again, thank you.
But we don't know what he said yet.
No,
so
this is we're gonna be hearing it for the first time with you guys, and but I can tell you that it was surreal for sure. So, and,
it's still living in my head rent free right now.
Yeah.
That and the Super Bowl halftime.
Yeah, it's
thing. So I've been singing like every song that was playing on that like in my head for like the last like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And then this, when I'm thinking about other things, was just like, man, really just talked to Dave Allen. He just like was talking to us just like randomly about hanging out with Robert and just like all like in-depth stuff that I'm just like,
yeah, just so much
that was really awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's just so much cool insight. He was super kind, of course. I can't even imagine, that we'd be so lucky with both these guys. Have been so sweet and awesome with their time and just willing to really dive into it with us. And it's been so cool because there is so much good insight to specific little things that we'll recap at the end too, but you'll hear it all here. I'm real excited to get this out to you guys. That's where I'm like, should we space these out? And fuck it, let's put them all together here and get it out as soon as possible. We did try to focus a little bit, I guess, on Wish 30th anniversary, little more than other stuff, but it definitely goes all over. And we got a little bit of his background and some early talks and just opinions on all kinds of stuff. We covered a lot of territory, I feel like.
Yeah, a few times through, I was like, we haven't really talked about Wish that much. I mean, like it's like, but like we just honestly, we just kind of let him dictate where the conversation was going. A lot of the time, and he was willing to answer anything everything that we asked
my notes were a little all over the place. There was definitely some when I looked down at my page after we said goodbye. I was like, oh, I forgot. I was just so caught up in the moment, but I guess that's bound to happen. But pretty cool. And it's funny as far as the nerve factor too. It's so weird because just being a dude that's felt like I've experienced every kind of nervous syndrome in my life constantly, but it's so weird being like nervous from the comfort of your own home in a chair watching, you know what I mean? So there's only so much freaking out. It was like, it was almost like not like starstruck nervous because he was so chill and at ease that I felt like immediately comfortable talking to him, but at the same time more of just nervous of the opportunity, like I didn't want to fuck this up. And it's like, we're never going to get this chance again just to ask these questions. And even just on behalf of everybody that's wondered anything about these amazing albums, I'm just like, oh man, was that a stupid question? That kind of thing more, So.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the interviews that you're going to get from people are going to be music oriented magazines that aren't necessarily fan based. So you're kind of like I can't explain to you how excited I was for this, and I'm just like, this has been the highlight of my, it's only it's February now. It's only February. It's in the highlight of the year so far, that and Phil. So it's been a great Cure year for us so far. But pity we missed the first like 5 minutes of this recording.
We came out blazing. So.
as soon as he got on, he just started going into it, and I don't even remember what he said, but it was just like,
yeah, there's a lot.
Gavin didn't hit the record button. Gavin didn't hit the record button.
Hold on, because I still kind of wanted to get the official okay before you hit record. Like this is where I was gonna say all the off the record stuff before you hit record. But I was like, oh man, but
yeah, very kind. And then at the end, towards, I don't even know if you got it towards the end where if you're gonna include it, but he was almost like, hey, you guys got some time? I want to show you some stuff.
Yeah.
I think and it was just like,
we're like, yeah, man.
Very, yeah.
It's like,
it was just like, maybe next time, dude. But I mean, absolutely.
Let's keep it rolling. So, I was ready to fly over there. Screw this. Let's hang out.
Seriously.
So, with all our giddy nature here, I think we should just dive into it and let the people hear and experience this fun conversation we had with Dave Allen. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, thank you on the top so much. Cool. All right, guys, brace yourselves. This is a good one. Today, Holy Hour listeners, we have a very special guest, and not only co-producer of most our favorite Cure albums, but arguably the co-producer of some of the greatest albums ever recorded, often referred to as the golden era, the top, Head on the Door, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Disintegration, and Wish. It is a true honor and pleasure to welcome the one and only Dave Allen to the show. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. Yeah. And on Valentine's Day, thank you so much for sharing the love here with us today. So
absolutely.
Hope we're not holding you up here with your Valentine's plans.
You're not. I'm just let's just not even go there. VD.
Yeah, let's channel Disintegration. Cue up Disintegration.
Oh dear. What a heavy record.
Yeah. But first off, too, just a giant thank you for all the music you've created and helped create over the years, and those albums we named. I think I could speak for all of us that I really don't know where we'd be in our lives without them. I consider them dear friends that have been there the whole journey, and just such a huge part of my life.
It's just great to hear, because it's, it's like I always used to think, well, if 1,000 people like it, fucking hell, that's just amazing, really. But obviously, like when it's kind of millions, you just kind of go, well, it was really worth getting out of bed that day.
Yeah.
and the next day, and the next day.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because
and it's a kind of, for me, it's like, that whole kind of span is a complete evolution from kind of inheriting half an album, which is the top, all the way through to kind of disinheriting the last album, which is Wish.
Right.
So kind of my relationship with the band, did follow a kind of that quite a long pattern. It's just, I don't know, it just knocks me out that people still dig it, and, it still kind of has some meaning. And I think, we never kind of did, I suppose the Cure never became as big as Pink Floyd or any of those guys. And I think that in some ways that's the saving grace.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not Bon Jovi,
right?
But it still has some kind of meaning today, because we live in an anti-romantic age. So, the more we can get of romantic things, in my view, the better.
Yeah, for sure. And those albums in particular really touch on that. And
absolutely.
It's funny you said that too, because something that's come up on the show a lot is how personal we all feel the Cure to us as fans, like when, you almost forget when you go to the stadiums to see the shows, how huge they are, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and everything like that. But it's like, you really take it personal, if somebody does bash them around here, so you feel like they're the local band around the block somehow, and it's like, it's strange, but awesome.
Well, I've thought about this quite a lot Robert has a very unique talent for the tiny moments in people's lives, or the tiny moments in his life. So we all have these kind of bits where, you know, we've split up with someone, but there's a sort of moment where you kind of really feel it, and he's absolutely brilliant at pinpointing that.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of think it is. It's not really like, you know, let's all put our hands together and clap along with the band.
Right.
More like kind of, Christ, you know, I really know what that feeling is. And you know, there's a place for dance, and there's a place for kind of, you know, brain dead. It's really terrible sort of. But, you know, there's a place for kind of, you know, vapid pop music, but there's also a place for, you know, something that kind of does get to sort of, you know, what you feel about things.
Yeah, it's so versatile, because we've talked about that too. Where like a song like "Pictures of You," if you're in a good mood, can be like the happiest wedding day song, whatever.
Absolutely.
But if you're down, it's like right there with you, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah, remember that holiday?
Not easy to do, to pull that off.
Yeah, and of course, all those feelings can be. I mean, some of the songs change meaning, don't they? I mean, they go from being the kind of teenage things to, you know, I don't know. If you've ever lost anyone, I mean, you get to my age, you've kind of lost a lot of people, and Pictures of You just really kind of morphs around.
For sure.
We talked about the song Disintegration and how it went from just a cool song that we liked as teenagers up until today, like that we're married and like we're going through marital issues, and like how strong that song is for us now. So it's amazing.
The words are just amazing. I mean, the 2 takes.
Yeah.
It's like, man, he sings that all the way through like that, and then have a half an hour break, and then do another go and pick one. It's really intense. It's not, you know, it's not bits. It's like a total integral artistic performance. It's just, I mean, I was just absolutely, people always say it, but I was just absolutely floored when we did that.
Yeah.
You know, just the vocals were just, I was just going, blimey, this is like, where is this coming from? You know,
right.
It's deep.
Yeah.
It's just super, super deep.
Now that song means a little bit more to me.
It's of treachery.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not you know, they're not man songs or woman songs.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of bands. I know that's you know, you can kind of go, well, they're a boy band or a girl band or whatever. But I don't think you can really do that with The Cure. They're people, you know, it's, you know, it's valuable. It's valuable.
Yeah.
Heartbreak is heartbreak, no matter who you are. So it's,
and then when you kind of think of the kind of political situation, sort of within the band, you know, it's because obviously that was the last appearance of Lowell, really. Not that he did very much, but I mean, you know, Lowell, in my view, Lowell was really kind of like, you know, part of the soul of the band. And it's one of the things that's kind of missing nowadays, because what you get nowadays, you often get like kind of the main songwriter gets signed, or the singer gets signed, or 2 people get signed, but you know, you don't get that same combination of people.
Speculated, some of those heartbreak songs are like, I wonder if it's like Lowell or something, and he's like channeling, especially by those later ones, you know. You wonder.
Well, all the love songs are about Mary, and all the hate songs are about Lowell.
There you go. Yeah. It's official. Just
that's canon. We're good.
Yeah. But even from the producer side of this thing's going with those moods that we're talking about with these songs, how versatile they are. I mean, there's gotta been, so many examples of, you know, I always think of how cool that would be to be in the control room and you wrapping up Just Like Heaven or something, just knowing you nailed every little piece of it. Cause we know how important when you just tweak one thing a little too much or put the wrong sound in there.
I don't know.
It must be amazing.
Tape's different. I don't know. And I really can't say that I had big ideas about that. My overwhelming, it's kind of like, really, will it work? Does it work? I mean, after that point, does it work? Well, kind of like have the vocal, you know, or bits of the composition, you know, bits of the playing, you know, a little bit louder guitar here or there. It kind of doesn't really kind of matter. Whereas nowadays, kind of obviously, because you can go back and tweak, people do, and I don't really kind of approve of that.
Yeah.
Not approve of it. It's like, it's kind of fair enough.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you get nearer to an artistic, holistic thing. And it's almost like, because you can kind of recall it and there's no effort, you just recall it and then go, oh, I'll twiddle about with that. But anybody who knows, you know, sometimes the first mix is the one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's stuff you can improve on it, or, you know, whatever, you know, improve on it. But if it has the feeling, it has the feeling. And I think we were very lucky during that period, or I was very lucky to really capture something. And I'm kind of pretty sure that it's actually more difficult to do that nowadays with computers, just because it's, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you have so many options, and, you know, like you can backtrack so easy. Yeah,
it doesn't feel as genuine.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's just
like if you do a painting, you can't go back over and do it.
Yeah, there's a great novel by Zola called His Masterpiece, and it's really kind of about the impressionists, and it's really based on, well, it's based on kind of a lot of people, but in essence, it's about a guy, and he just gets completely fixated on this massive painting that he wants to do, and he kind of overpaints bits, and at one point it's kind of like, it's done, it's finished, you know, and then 5 years later he's fucked it, he's overpainted the figure, and he's completely fucked it. And you know, I think that's kind of very difficult to avoid now, because you have to kind of make an artificial end point.
Sure.
You know? Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And of course, in the old days, the budgets were being run mainly by record companies. And if the record company kind of loved it, everyone went, wow. And they said the marketing department's going to, you know, and we've done radio, you know, radio loves it. Everyone go, okay, let's go on fucking tour. And now I kind of think it's possibly the equivalent of micromanaging.
Right.
I can see
you're micromanaging the audio, and everyone kind of knows that's not really a good way to go.
Right on. Yeah, I guess along those lines, just going on the timeline then, you know, around Head on the Door and stuff, obviously the band started to break through a bit more, and the momentum seemed huge going from one album to the next. You know, did you really pick up on that from your perspective too? And how did that go?
Not really. From one album? The thing is, at the time when I did the top, I was really prepared to kind of, the studio I was working in, I was really prepared to leave it, because he had kind of turned into a bit of an electro factory. And then I kind of spent like 10, maybe 14 days doing the top. And one night, Caterpillar, we just had a basic drum track, and I inherited the drums and the bass from a guy called Howard Gray who'd done that. So we had a whole load of drum and bass tracks, not in the kind of 90 cents of drum and bass.
Right.
And in one night we overdubbed everything, finished Caterpillar in like 6 hours. Every single thing, backing vocals, the lead vocal, all the extra guitars, the piano.
Jeez, yeah.
And I was like, I got out at like 4 a.m. and thought, fuck me, that's what recording should be like. And previously, the guy that I was working for, you know, we were spending a week on the hi-hat.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just like, fucking hell, this is just, wow. This is freedom. How fantastic. I mean, the end of the top, after everybody had fucked off about 5 or 6 in the morning, Robert came back because he forgot something. He found me sweeping up in the studio, clearing up. And find a lot of people, after like very intense sessions, we get to the end and we kind of like to do a bit of housewife stuff, you know. We like to clean up and sweep up. He kind of walked and he said, I fucking knew you weren't the engineer. I knew you were the cleaner.
Do it all. Awesome.
Yeah, so, you know, and actually after that album, I went freelance. So The Cure were very, very pivotal to my own kind of development because, you know, and consequently for 10 years, I never, ever negotiated.
Yeah.
If I ever got the call, I just went, yeah. And I never talked money. I never talked points. I got paid and I got a point.
Yeah.
I never talked it because I'd be doing something different. I'd have gone back to working in packaging for pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah. Did the pressure ever mound up?
Well, the problem is, of course, when you're doing, the bigger you get, the more everybody else is interested in it.
Yeah.
And that pressure, it's not just the pressure of sort of like you've got an audience and it's the pressure of kind of when's the next album coming out? How can we do the tour? It's like, will it be done by December so we can book an American tour, a world tour? And from you go from kind of England, maybe Europe, to world tours. And, the parent record company, the people, they're all kind of going, where the fuck is it? Where the fuck is it? And they're all interested because it's kind of by then, the figures are big enough for them to kind of go, this is a big part of the turnover of our company this year.
Right.
Yeah.
From being kind of like, great for the label, blah, blah, blah. So I think kind of that's kind of queers the pitch. And of course, often people don't really kind of know what they did that resonates. It's well known that artists don't really kind of know what their best songs are from the point of the public. Right. Well, there are songs that bands love to play, and there are songs that audiences love to listen to, and they're they're kind of not the same, rarely the same.
That's true.
Anybody who's been subjected to a band having a funky workout, or John Bonham's drum solo on Moby Dick. I mean, it can be kind of hard. It's fun, but it's kind of hard.
Let them do their thing. Yeah.
Time to go to the bar, isn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's something too. I mean, at one point, like with the B-sides being so popular with The Cure, it's curious, like, was that always kind of out of your hand by that point, or were you surprised?
Well, I don't know, there were always extra tracks,
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of Neurosis. I mean, and those extra tracks, they became less and less because everything got focused. I mean, Wish, for instance, was originally started as, there were lots of songs.
Yeah.
It weren't possible to all finish as songs. So the kind of basic idea when we started was to kind of anything that didn't get done, there was going to be an instrumental album.
Yeah.
And that, I think we did 6 or 7 pieces with that in mind, ones that Robert didn't have words for, I mean, the words are really difficult. I mean, that's actually kind of the most difficult thing I think about writing good song-based music. Yeah. I have something to write about and write good words. We never kind of got enough tracks to kind of justifiably make kind of an album of instrumentals and an album of songs. But I think they have all been finished and they have all come out. But yeah, out of my hands. I mean, that album, I kind of realised in October, we started in September, I realised by late October, there was no way we were going to make, a February finish, which was pretty crucial for hitting the American tour market in March and all the promotional stuff. And I'd already been working with Mark Saunders, and we did the Chameleons together, and I'd like to say it was my protege, but kind of he started engineering me, and he did Never Enough,
right? And
kind of I started recommending him when I wasn't available for things, so he ended up he mixed it with Chris Parry, which was fine. I really got on with Chris, the head of Fiction, which is a rarity for me.
Yeah, sounds like
there's quite a lot of those big record companies from back in the day that I did one album for and never did another one for.
So were you ever surprised by some of the ones that didn't make it to the final one? You're like, oh yeah, that song was great, or were you pretty much on board with those decisions?
I don't know. I just think well, it's always a kind of mistake to move yourself into areas where you're not competent.
Okay.
And Chris Parry had like fantastic ears, and he kind of really knew what worked, and he'd been working with The Cure obviously since kind of late 70s, and he kind of understood, Robert's talent in a way that I didn't, and obviously he was kind of representing them to the world as the manager. So no, I didn't get involved with a lot of that. In fact, I didn't know what the albums were. I mean, obviously, you don't really know kind of what albums and tracks are called until you actually get to things. Yeah. I'm kind of a bit vague about all that sort of stuff. I wasn't involved with the videos other than Friday I'm in Love video, which I'm the guy bringing the props on behind the drummer.
Yeah, awesome.
That was a really cool day, that was, because it was you know, like 3 live takes with everybody rehearsed, and it was done in 6 hours, or mainly because everybody was drunk, because the pints of lager that we're drinking are all real. I mean, maybe there was 6 takes, but it really was. It was like a day. It was a very, very fast video, and just really good fun to do.
Yeah, it looks like a blast. So
yeah, it was really good fun. And, you know, and in fact, so the guy that brings on the drinks, dressed as an Indian waiter, is Chris Parry, the head of the record.
Yeah.
Everybody's in it. It's like the guy with the boiler suit was the assistant on the record. The 2 roadies are the Laurel and Hardy character. Tim Pope, the director, is the cowboy that starts it. He's got a cowboy hat because that was Robert's nickname for him, the video cowboy.
Nice.
So you know. That was a really good fun day, and we all got paid scale. I think you know for being in the video, like being an extra. It was just
put it on your IMDb page there.
money, drunk,
had
a right laugh.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. Yeah, it's a really good idea. Yeah.
That's awesome. I guess going back to the idea of like starting the recording process of Wish then and going into that, I know Robert's mentioned getting into like shoegaze music at that sound, you know, that type of, was there any kind of mention of bringing that sound in with like the heavier guitars?
Well, guys, Disintegration was kind of like, you know, we had Roger.
Yeah.
And he had left. So I think kind of, I don't know, the only kind of, I mean, grunge was there really. Bleach had come out, and Paul was really into Nirvana, and I don't know I really have any discussions with Robert about other kind of bands. I mean, Ecstasy was about, so kind of thing. So where Friday I'm in Love's coming from. And I don't know, I'm not very good at kind of, I mean, I don't really fit with the modern era, because with people like Mark Ronson, it's very much kind of, we're going to make a Stax record, like the Bruno Mars thing. I mean, it's a perfect observation of Cameo, Prince, you know, a whole load of other stuff put together, and it's brilliant. But I just can't. I'm not any good at that. You know, you can take. You know, I'm obviously living in the 21st century, but you can't, as the Mike Tyson quote goes, you know, you can take the man out of the 20th century, but you can't take the 20th century out of the man. So, you know, the whole game's moved on. I don't think it's quite the same. And the fact that you can manipulate stuff means that a lot of everything sounds kind of pretty perfect, which, I don't know, you know. I mean, there's room for dirt in this world, proper dirt. It's a super distortion pedal.
I wasn't sure if that was something just because the Roger factor more, or you know, going with the times of more guitars.
Roger did a fantastic job on Disintegration. He did. I mean, it's like, and you know, I had a background in programming as well, but he did an amazing job, and he is an amazing keyboard player and instrumentalist. And you know, you have to be on your game to play with. Simon is an unbelievable bass player, and Robert can play pretty much anything, because he's got the touch. That's what it is. And I don't think that was you know. And I think me and Boris probably had maxed it out by then. We worked very closely together from kind of the top onwards, and I think we possibly, if I was to change anything, I would have probably kind of gone, let's be a little bit simpler about it. I'm not even sure that I think Robert had an idea for me. I mean, I think we've done a really big album, and I kind of had this idea that, you know, even if this one was going to be happier, and we picked a smaller studio with a smaller room and stuff like that, and I kind of think I was kind of trying to maybe keep a bit of the sound of Disintegration, maybe, and I think maybe that was the first album I was kind of at odds with Robert's vision, but I'm not quite sure that he was quite sure what his vision was.
Yeah.
But, you know, personally, I don't really kind of think that vision counts for very much, because you can't. Well, the problem is, you know, you can't have a happy accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how does the happy accident fit with vision? It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
The only possible way it can fit is if you've got to go, well, they organised the happy accident. And believe me, I've done that lots and lots of times.
Right.
But you know what I mean? It's like, you know,
Yeah.
there are no happy accidents nowadays, because if a guitarist makes a mistake, which is actually better than what he kind of had in mind, it's still a mistake to them, and they will often persist until that excellent mistake is removed.
Yeah.
Not everyone's like that. Some people go, actually, that's just, you know, it's wrong. It's not what I tried to do. But actually, there's, you know, some people will go down that route.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you've got tape and you've got a limited amount of stuff, do you want to erase something that's fucking genius? I mean, from my point of view, I would often just kind of go, I'm not fucking erasing that. If you want to do it, if you want to do it again tomorrow, you know, be my guest. Maybe we'll have another go. I'll find some way of doing it. I would probably stall or something and go, we haven't got any tracks, or I'll have to, you know, we'll have to come back tomorrow because I'll have to organise the tracks. It's too late for me to kind of do that properly. I have to bounce something down, or and often, like, once it had bedded in and the person kind of thought, well, yeah, you know, I kind of meant that, really.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not being manipulative. I mean, sometimes you've got to save people from themselves, and overdoing stuff, again, with the tweaks, you know, that sort of overdoing stuff is sometimes. Well, if you look at kind of how people go through all these phases, and often end up at the end kind of wanting to go back to an earlier way. I watched the thing with Hugh Cornwall the other night, and he was kind of going, he was saying, well, you know, I like to do everything. I don't like to have a home studio. Mm-hmm. I don't like open-ended recording. And if you look at sort of kind of the way Neil Young still kind of works, I'm sure Neil's been through this phase, because there was all that kind of machine phase. I don't know if anyone remembers that now. Wasn't brilliantly successful, but he did really try to kind of, you know, look down at, you know, was it the Coneheads?
I think so.
Yeah, like some kind of thing where he had drum machines and stuff like that. But now it's not, you know, I think people kind of go, well, you know, let's just put it in a small period and really try and do it all in that. We'll go in prepared, rehearsed, with the words, with the tunes, you know, or certainly the words kind of in place, enough words for all, you know. Maybe we want to cut them down or refine them, leave a few words, sentences, but not like, oh my God, what's this song about? I've written a lovely kind of backing track. Now I've got to write some words for it. And I think kind of that sort of has a bit of an essence to it, which you can't really kind of get through open-ended recording.
Do you recall, as fans, I guess we saw a glimpse of that with the live version of like Wendy Time in particular, had quite a different feel in the early stages.
Well, these things songs evolve, don't they? I mean, you know, I mean, I know that kind of fans don't really know how to play the songs when they're playing them for the first time. After they've been playing them for 10 years, it's like a monstrous machine. They all kind of know. They just know. It just has such sort of a depth of knowledge within each kind of thing. Like Jason, for instance, has been in 25 years or something. And I mean, I saw them at Hyde Park, not sort of, you know, whenever it was, like a year and a bit ago, just pre-COVID, and I just thought it was the best I'd ever seen them. I mean, I love Paul and what he plays, and I saw them when Reeves first joined. I saw them at Reading, and I was kind of like, oh my fucking God, what have they done, you know? and then I just had to kind of swallow all those words at Hyde Park. I just thought, fuck, this is the best I've ever seen them. It's just, you know, just like intimate at Hyde Park with 50,000 people. It felt like that anyway. And just total meld between them. I was very drunk, but,
helps.
You know, but they were just, I don't know, just absolutely amazing. The best I've ever seen them. So, you know, and I know there's big arguments about Boris and all the rest of it. And Jason's a different drummer, and they're a different band with Jason. I mean, they are, you know, he has a different feel, but it was still absolutely brilliant. And Reeves had bedded in and learnt all the chords. and was brilliant too. You know, it was brilliant too. So it was just a really fantastic sort of. It was just a fantastic day. I just went home not completely drunk, on a total fucking high, which is really. I mean, I don't drink in the studio. You know, I'll have a beer at the end of the day. I'm po-faced. Right. And, so I'm pretty straight in the studio, and when I go to a gig, I don't want to be like that. Up as everybody else, you know. I did an album with Matthew Sweet, and he was going, "Come on, Dave, have a joint." And I said, "Well, I don't know if I really want to do that." And I'm a little weed head anyway. But he was going, "Well, yeah, you got to be in the same state of mind as your audience." Not very good advice when you're making it, but I kind of get where he's coming from. So so anyway, that's kind of that. So the last time I saw them, I just thought, oh fucking hell, they just become some sort of awesome beast, you know.
So. Had the attitude in the studio changed on the band side through the progression up until Wish? Did you feel more pressure, not from the label, but from the band? Did you see stuff getting to them? Anything like that?
Not really. I think kind of. No, I don't know.
Kept rolling with
I suppose well, it must have done, because obviously we overran on that. So going back to Wish, for instance, I realized, as I was saying, in kind of late October, November, we weren't going to do it. So I kind of suggested we kind of organise it in some way that we finish tracks and Mark Saunders mixes, because I didn't think we were going to get to a point where I'd be able to be in any state by January to kind of start mixing. We needed to add to the team, you know. I mean, this is a very standard kind of thing nowadays. You have teams of people, and it would have been done like this anyway. So this was all precursor, you know, because Pro Tools hadn't quite come in yet. We weren't at that sort of stage. It was all still being done 48 track. You know, I mean, I don't think me and Robert could go into Disintegration again, into that kind of, you know, between the two of us mixing. That was really, really fucking hard. Really. It was brutal.
Just because there were so many layers and parts, or just general atmosphere.
Just trying to get something out, you know. It's all, you know, it was amazing and inspiring and but it was really, really hard. It was really hard, but, you know, trying to get something between the two of us, or something that he kind of dug.
Right.
And maybe that was another reason for the Wish thing. I just personally couldn't see kind of how I could go into that frame. And also I'd been working with them for 10 years. And, you know, it's cliche to talk about it like a marriage, but, you know, it's like, you know, it was a perfect match. And we still are a great team, and probably would be a great team now, because, you know, it's if you've ever had an ex-partner that you do. I mean, I often think now that people choose people to have children with, and then kind of, you know, the counselling thing is, well, you're not supposed to live past 50, so you know, are you going to be? You know, it's just drift, isn't it? You have a drift of personalities, but you often kind of, you know, maybe you sort of subconsciously or biologically you pick someone that you kind of think, well, you know, this is going to be a good. You don't think this is going to be good to have kids with, but you know, you form a unit, and obviously the couple unit's very, very strong, and but it's not, you know, it has its time often, and the people who, you know, have a relationship that lasts for years are just very, very lucky. And I kind of think in art as well, you're always looking for, you know, you've always got to jazz your stuff up, and you've always got to put new people in. And I mean, it's a bit like, say, Bowie, you know, Visconti was kind of all slotted in to do the Let's Dance album, and then Bowie met Niall and just went, oh, no, this is going to be much better, you know. Not really say he's wrong, because it's like, well, you know, you know, you're looking for something, and you're looking to kind of do something kind of a bit,
change it up,
you know. Not repeating yourself. And I think maybe that's kind of where my personal reservations about Wish are, that I was probably repeating myself.
Yeah, it seems like it. Well, I mean, it seems like it was probably headed that way for a lot of, just from fans' perspective too, of the, like the mainstream success coming in more, and the fact that like,
I don't think Robert really wanted that.
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like at that point he would definitely throw a wrench in it at that point anyway. But it seems like, and then with Boris and all heading out after that album, and Poor, so I mean, it seems like a lot of things were shifting after Wish.
Yeah, totally. But that's just, that's 15 years on the treadmill.
Yeah,
you want to do something, you want to approach things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But we can't go back to kind of do anything like that. And I was really pleased to be asked, because I kind of really did think that maybe it was, especially when they did Never Enough with Mark.
Mm-hmm.
He's this is the thing. I mean, he's a friend of mine, and we'd worked together. So I kind of thought, well, okay, that's totally fair enough. And he was kind of, next generation of engineers along. It's a bit like nowadays. I mean, we're now kind of like probably 3 or 4 generations of producers after me, and people who produce and engineer are inspired by other people who produce and engineer from the previous era. I was from, say, people like Visconti and Connie Plank. Maybe realize, oh, hey, there's a gig there. You're not a great singer, Dave. You're not a great composer. I mean, obviously. But you could be good at this.
Yeah.
And it's better to be good at something, even if you like something and you're not much good at it, it's better to be good at something that maybe you don't like as much, because obviously it's great to be around and sing your little heart out. And I love to do that, and I still do. Keep that side, and always have, because it's really good to know it's really good to know what it's like to be out in that cold space in front of the mic, with a vacuum in front of you. And there's many engineers and producers who don't really understand, not so much nowadays, because most people who kind of do anything can play anything, like the guy that's just done Liam Gallagher's new record. I can't remember what his name is. Anyway. Well, I can't remember what his name is, but he's really super famous and can play fucking anything. And he did work with Adele and Lana Del Rey. And is it Kustig? I'd have to go on Wikipedia.
Yeah, we'll check it out. But that's
we're not. As you can tell, we're not up on that music. Music too much.
We're still living in '92.
Now ask me about Mendelssohn, and I can tell you that, well, the quartet in A minor is probably where Kate Bush stole the start of Babushka from. Not stole. Was inspired by.
Well, one thing I love about the string of albums too, that really speaks a lot to the producer side of it, I believe, is just the cohesive nature that all those albums have, where they can be diverse, like we've talked about with Cure songs, but they all fit so perfectly. Like, there's really no reason, like, you would think something like Why Can't I Be You would totally stand out on an album with The Kiss or something, but like as soon as you hear anything off that, it's so cohesive and just flows. And, all those albums are great at that.
It's weird, because I've spent most of my life feeling very untalented. I still feel very untalented, but I do have a talent. But as Confucius said, try explaining water to a fish and air to a bird. You really don't. I mean, I must have, even if that talent is just keeping a unit of people together, kicking it along a bit. With talented people, what do you need to do, really? I mean,
it's crazy.
You do need to do loads of shit, but I don't really. I've got to the point where I don't even know what I do. I just sort of, I know I'm doing it, and I know it's better.
I mean, it definitely shows in those kind of albums, I think, and they
and
really,
of course they are unified by a central intellect and a central voice. I mean, Robert's got a fantastic baritone voice.
Yeah,
and you never heard it. Me neither. Said, you should really fucking get that. That's just fucking amazing. I mean, it's like, it's like Iggy or someone like that. I mean, it's just completely. You wouldn't really you just go, that's the same person. But it's an artistic decision for him to sing that way. And he doesn't let that down. So, you know, I think that's what holds them together, and of course, curious kind of, and that thing I was saying, like Close to Me is a really good example. I mean, it's the wardrobe. I mean, his brief for that was absolutely fantastic. You're in a wardrobe, someone's whispering in your ear, and there's a band playing outside.
Wow.
I mean, you can't fuck that up. Sorry, you just can't fuck that up. No. And well, you can, you know.
But he didn't.
No, but you know, but the same thing. You've got that voice. You've got the intellect, the mentality, the structure of the words, and it's pretty. I mean, Rob has his own kind of style of putting chords together that he's invented, and you know, I think that's kind of what holds it together. But I do know exactly what you mean. I mean, I think we had two. Head on the Door was a different drum setup for every song.
Okay.
And then when we started Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Boris said, I just don't want to do that anymore. It's such a fucking ball ache. So we had two drum setups. We had one in a stone room and one in a woody room.
Okay.
The stone room is something like the Kiss or Torch or Fight, and something like Catch is the woody room. So we kind of compromised a little bit. And obviously it doesn't kind of really matter nowadays because you can sound replace everything.
Yeah, I guess so. But
although, you know, it is nice to have a really nice room to play in, but obviously most studios now are kind of pretty small. And, you know, I mean, I've got Lexicon reverb, so I own the actual real things, but most of the time I use a plug-in because, you know, they the Apollo versions of the Lexicon stuff sound really, really pretty good. They just don't have the hiss. Well, you have to turn that bloody off on all these on all the plugins nowadays. You have to turn off the analog emulation, otherwise you end up with just a load of noise at the front of the track. You end up gating everything.
Yeah, interesting.
Which is the old days of gating everything to stop tape. It's mad, you know. It's mad. It's just a full circle. The track starts. There's nothing there. Bands start playing. You think, what's all this? Shh. And it's all the plugins you've got with the analog emulation on. Turn that off. Turn that off. Or gate them, because if you love that analog emulation, then you know, I mean, me, I don't, because I come from the analog era. But I can understand the attraction for people who, you know, never done tape, never had to fight with all the noise and trying to keep it down, spend most of your time kind of going building up like tape piss, like a fucking that tape piss nightmare.
Totally. Do you feel like then every album kind of had a different, you know, way of connecting it sonically, or like you said, changing up the drums versus a few? And then we heard a cool story about the Disintegration with the kick drum, how it was the same sound or something like that.
Well, the thing is, when Kiss Me, this is one of those sort of things. I mean, nobody likes criticism and negative criticism, and you remember one bad review outweighs 1,000 great reviews. But when that came out, it was reviewed, and one reviewer reviewed it and said it was a bit shambolic. So, well, that put me in my place, because I thought, I've just showed what a mastery I've got of all these different forms, and actually what I'd done was made something, you know, it was like, I should have been like maybe kind of going on, pushing it a little bit towards being a bit more linear.
Nah, it all flows somehow.
And so Disintegration, I kind of thought, right, okay, well, we'll just have one big slab of sound in from the start. So kind of I took samples of the kick drum from 17 tracks or 18 songs that we did. And I took the first one and the snare drum and laid it over the last one, and took the last one and laid it over the first one, and did the same thing with the snare. So they kind of met in the middle.
Okay.
I had to probably pick the one that I like most, because, you know, obviously as you go from song to song, you tweak the drums, or you kind of go, you tweak the drums for that particular song, or the tuning of the snare goes, or you retune it, or you change the heads halfway through 4 weeks in, or something like that. And So it kind of consciously has this big slab sound because I didn't want to be thought of as being a shambolic producer. And, you know, so, and I kind of know, obviously, Love Song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's the same kind of stuff, but it has this kind of solidity and intentionality in everything. It's not, you know, nothing's an accident in it. But then, of course, that was the early days of sampling and triggering samples. So we were all kind of in love with that in the 80s, you know.
So is that how it would work? You kind of had that sound captured, and then every time they would hit like the kick drum, it would just trigger that sound, or it wasn't like something you'd cut and paste every.
No. You just lock the sound in a machine and then put the kick drum off tape into it, and,
awesome.
And then you know, double that way. That's being simplistic about it, and do the same thing with the snare. So kind of the first song.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever that actually was in the recording sequence, also has the snare from the last song.
Okay.
And then the last song has a snare from the first song, and they cross over.
Yeah, I mean that's.
So you get so it is always evolving. There is a different snare sound for each song, but you know
it starts from the same. Yeah, that's awesome.
Margin, you know, you could sort of quibble about it. I mean, it's a little anally retentive, possibly.
well. For that album in particular, yeah, go for it. It worked. We'll thank that critic for the awesome best album ever. So. But what are you saying, Chaz?
Believe it or not, Wish is, a remix of Wish is one of the most wanted things from Cure fans. It's constantly brought up in conversations.
Well, yeah, this is an awkward one, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a complete copy of Wish that I did. Rough mixes. Well, rough mixes, you know, they're one mix a day. So they're rough. And they are rough, and they would have been better if they'd have been informed by Robert. I mean, the vocal is loud enough, but it's got my enthusiasms possibly too loud. And it does sound like a more natural progression on from Disintegration, but you know, Robert's got the tapes, and if he wants to put those out, puts them out, and if he wants to remix it, I kind of guess he could remix it. I mean, why is that anyway? You know,
because I think it's the only album that hasn't come out yet with
a deluxe
remaster and a deluxe version and everything that, you know, us as fans, you know, go crazy over. So that's the one thing that I think we all.
Well, unfortunately, I suppose.
All want.
Yeah. Well, I suppose this. Well, I had to do rough mixes because when they started doing the PR, it didn't really have many of the final mixes. So a lot of stuff what was reviewed at the time were these rough mixes that I did. But I guess that's kind of Robert's call, and if he doesn't feel it's like, you know, that they're right. I mean, they do sound a lot more like Disintegration. They are.
Okay.
You know, they're brutal. Paul's probably way too loud, and all the backwards guitars are way too loud, and you know, there's backing vocals in it, and all sorts of stuff. So, but you know, that's his call to kind of maybe do that. And I think maybe he just can't quite decide how to do a deluxe version of it without. You know, essentially he could remaster and do some version of Wish and then kind of put all of mine on as a completely alternative view of the album. Personally, in some ways, I think that's kind of maybe truer to sort of what we were trying to do at the time or what was being done at the time. And with notable exceptions, I mean, I quite like my mix of Friday I'm in Love, but I do have to say that Mark Saunders' mix for Friday I'm in Love was actually a better pop mix. As it should be, you know, because he hadn't, you know, I mean, if you're going to remix something, you've got a fresh approach on something and a fresh idea of the guitar sounds. And, you know, obviously if I'm working on something, I do stuff that sounds good to me. Well, I don't artificially change something because I think, maybe I can make that better. I mean, I've already done my best. Yeah. And so that's why, I mean, obviously nowadays it's, you know, you look at someone like Mark Stent, who's been mixing massive hit records since, I don't know, the mid 80s and still is based in LA. You know, I mean, you can go to special people. I'm sure Billie Eilish's record was mixed by a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know, even if her brother did do all the original recording. That's the way of it, isn't it, nowadays? And often multiple mixers will be involved, and you know. So I kind of think that's probably why there's not an alternative version of Wish, because Robert's probably not quite happy with all those rough mix. They're an integral kind of. They are a view of the album, and telling you this, it's pretty good. But it doesn't, you know. And I'm sure that we spent like a couple of days, and he'd been a bit more involved in that because he was doing double studioing. He was working with Mark somewhere else, with a studio nearby, trying to do mixes. And so maybe that's the problem. Maybe there is a completely holistic other Wish. I want to generate this because, which may not be kind of the way he wants it. So he's stuck in a bit of a quandary. It's kind of there. It's kind of good, but it's just kind of not really what he sort of thinks Wish is or should be, and he's actually happier with what actually came out.
Man.
And there aren't any, you know, there's probably demos and stuff he could bring out. And maybe he just got bored with deluxes. I don't know.
I don't know.
We did not. Oddly enough. So
we're all like, 30th anniversary this year. We're all like, if it doesn't happen this year, we got to see something. Whether it's the same, just a picture disc or something. I don't know. Something's gonna come out. You would think, but
I can't help you guys.
No inside scoop on the release.
No. We weren't asking to give us. We were just. It was something that was brought up by a number of people. And when we've done episodes on Wish before, and it's come up, that's like, man.
Yeah, why isn't there a deluxe edition?
Yeah, and like, why did it stop at Disintegration and hasn't continued forward? But like, they even did they do a remaster of Wild Mood Swings? Was that remastered? No, it wasn't. Okay,
I don't think.
But
so,
they put out Wild Mood Swings, but skipped Wish.
Well, I kind of think that like the further it's gone on, the further the industry has gone on, the less you get of that.
Yeah.
You don't get kind of random B-sides. You don't get something that people knock off in a kind of afternoon because they want a B-side for something. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So maybe it's kind of run out of really interesting other viewpoints on the record. I mean, I can't actually remember. I mean, you guys would know more about it than I do, really.
The B-sides?
Yeah, B-sides and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I know that some
Halo.
Yeah, I don't know any of the titles.
Okay. Yeah. We have a couple. We've reworked the albums on different episodes where we put in B-sides and taken out other songs.
Well, the song that should have been on Head on the Door was "Man Inside My Mouth."
Oh yeah,
that's just fucking great. I mean, I don't know what you could take off, really.
Exploding Boy,
Exploding Boy is one of our all-time favorite.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But you know,
but it's hard to.
Sometimes people, you know what it's kind of like. That sometimes people just feel freer on B-sides and something that seems completely crazy. I got a phone call from some guy at a studio in Dublin once ago that I kind of knew vaguely, and he said, "Oh, we're just recording this overdub, and it's Robert eating an orange on the mic." All it is. I don't know what track it is or anything. And I also got a phone call from Howard Gray, who remixed the singles on. He remixed Night Like This on the Door, and he rang me up and he said, "Oh, I've got this funny thing on the lead vocal, Dave." I said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Well, it sounds like there's a Dolby fault. There's a lot of sort of it sounds like it's not tape hiss, but I don't know what it is." I said, "Well, actually, what it is the back doors of the studio, really quite near where the mic was. There was a massive thunderstorm outside London. Thunder, lightning, buckets of rain. Perfect for the song. We had those doors open. That sound you're hearing is rain."
Oh wow, that's really rad.
Don't get rid of it. Don't get rid of it.
Okay,
absolutely.
Turn it
Yeah,
up.
we talked to we talked to Phil Thornalley about the end of pornography, where they added in that that news clip or speaking clip over the beginning of the song, and how it just kind of came out naturally because they had the TV on at that specific time, and that was on at that specific time, so it just kind of perfect.
That's a great album. Phil Thornalley's really talented. That's a great album, and he's very pop, so it's kind of that thing about you know, well, what an album that is.
Yeah. Two different worlds, so it was great.
No, but it's great. It's really fantastic.
He had a lot of really nice things to say about you too. So I'm sure he sends his love. Yes. So,
absolutely.
The guy,
Da Vinci.
Da Vinci.
No, it was really good. And he did Lovecats as well. And that was the first thing I ever kind of mixed. And really, I'm an imposter because I just put the faders in a straight line, and it sounded fucking great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely sounded. Someone just went, "Fuck me, this is a hit." You know, don't try and do anything, Dave.
Yeah.
I think he said the exact opposite of I think he said it was all you, and like
he said it was like, well, Dave really sealed the deal on that one. Yeah, it was like
no, man. No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. No, it was just you know, it's like sometimes you should do stuff and sometimes you shouldn't do stuff, and that was one of the cases where I was just going, well, fuck me, it's just fucking brilliant, you know. It was done in Pathé Marconi on a desk that's now was thrown away from Pathé Marconi in Paris, and it's one of these it's an out of line console, which basically means you have a separate set of faders, you have your mics, a whole bunch of mic faders, and then you monitor up a separate channel, an out of line console. Now the easiest way of working out of line consoles is to have all the monitoring faders at 0.
Okay.
Apart from maybe the lead vocal or whatever, you know, but you don't really kind of mix it. You've got all of those at 0, and you're kind of mixing everything on your mic balance. It's kind of how I did Head on the Door, because that was an out-of-line console at Angel Studios. So I guess intrinsically you've got all these faders in a straight line. You're working towards a balance all the time. But you know, that's the thing. I mean, he did it, so he probably kind of thought, Christ, that's a. I mean, you know, I don't know if he told you about the bass, but I mean, the double bass is, you know, chalk marks on the bass,
2 parts,
and 2 tracks. So he probably kind of felt like a bit of an imposter there, and so probably thought, well, that was a bit shit, you know. How's that going to work? And when you do that sort of stuff, you can never quite. In your own mind, you're trying to balance, and you're thinking, "Oh, that one's this track's slightly louder," or somebody else comes along, just they can't hear all those tiny, differences, so they just plow along anyway in ignorance.
Right.
So wow. Yeah, I mean, I did one mix of it, and I put ADT on Robert's voice, and this is before recall was really possible, I think, and. So I got a phone call a few days later saying, "Oh, Robert wants to come and remix it." I thought, well, I've totally fucked it up. So, so there I was sitting in the studio, and I said, "Well, I'll just get him to come out, and we'll just have another go." So I kind of, got it to sound pretty much as close as the tape, the 1/4-inch tape, matched it up with that. Robert turned up and he said, "Oh, well, it's all very good, but there's something I really don't like about it. Something on the voice." And I said, "Well, I've got ADT on the voice, automatic double tracking." And he said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, it's this." And he kind of went, and he came sat at the desk with me, and he kind of went, and I pointed to the 2 harmonizer tracks, one left, one right.
Right.
Cut them, and he went, "That's it. That's fucking great. Print that." And we did.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So
it's a good one to start out with then with them. So
then we went home an hour later.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you very much. Number 4. The first 1,000 copies were pressed at the wrong speed.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that.
Wow.
Okay. There was some problem with the room. first 1,000 copies, which would have been the ones sent out to all the radio stations. So maybe they all thought, ooh, maybe it was pressed for 45 and it should have been 33.
Real fast. You have to get that one for your collection, Chaz. There.
Yeah, I know.
But Phil's a great engineer and got really great sensibility, and and a much better. He's a proper musician and songwriter in his own right. So I was very lucky,
Yeah.
Sometimes it just lands in your hand as long as you don't drop it.
You did good with it, man.
Oh, thanks.
Do you have a favorite of the albums you produce, like whether it be the album or the full experience, or are they like children where you can't choose? But
it's like that, yeah. I mean, the top was really kind of was like I say, pivotal for me, because I just kind of went, Christ, I don't have to spend fucking 10 days on the synclavier to make something go boom tish.
Yeah.
And so that was just like, that was just great. That just kind of really saved my career in many ways. The top was really, really great fun to do. It was very alcohol laden, particularly on my behalf until I finished work, and then it was alcohol laden. But that was just really good fun. Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me was a stretch because it was a long album. We were in France, but it was, it's just sort of so many more. I mean, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, I did wait probably about 3 or 4 weeks where we didn't really do very much. I had to get to the studio every day about 11 or 12, and sometimes Robert would say, oh yeah, I've got something to sing at 7 in the evening. He'd come up and we'd sing a song.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really understand that thing about having been in a band, having been an artist, words are difficult, man. And I'd rather have great words than shit words that, where we go home early,
Yeah.
And so that was kind of difficult, but kind of great. I mean, someone comes up and sings "Why Can't I Be You," or you go, well, fucking hell, it was worth waiting those 2 days. And and it's an intrinsic part of the composition, so I didn't really kind of mind that. I mean, I think my ex and my kids didn't really kind of quite understand that. I mean, it was a bitch for kind of that from the point of view, but and then Disintegration was, I don't know, it was inspiring, fucking difficult, really like a fucking marathon.
Yeah.
And which was a good laugh, and just really, really good. I mean, it's just such great music, and that'll keep you going. You just go, well, fucking hell, this is the Dog's bollocks. This is what a great fucking track. Friday I'm in Love. How great is that?
Right.
And From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea. Phew.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, the image of a woman hanging herself in front of you. Now, obviously, you might think that was someone hanging themselves, or you could think that was someone, letting all their clothes fall to the floor. I mean, man, it's just like, there was just so much, I don't know, essence in it.
Yeah.
And it's just, not all fun, but inspiring. And should it all be fun, though?
Yeah.
Fun. And, so I just got absolutely only really, really great memories. Even, I mean, Disintegration, I had a nosebleed every day for 6 weeks, which wasn't coke, because I'm doing that shit. It wasn't coke. It was because Robert insisted on having the fucking temperature down in the room, like the aircon, which dried all the room out, and I was just like fucking suffering. I like it warm. I like it Nice, I don't. I like it San Diego, not fucking Anchorage. But
blood, sweat, and tears, all of it.
I was wearing thermals,
literally,
in the middle of summer, and I was wearing thermals. I used to change into thermals. You don't get cold.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, what does doing the unstuck mean? I mean, what does unstuck mean?
I'm the wrong person. I would imagine it's like when you are I suppose, now you've asked me, I've thought about it for a long time. I always thought it was just sort of getting out of your habit. You usually get up at 9, and one day you get up at 3 and you go watch the sunset. Sunrise.
Gotcha.
That's goth hours. Get up.
I like that perspective on the songs. That's another thing that people are like, I have no idea what that means.
Kick yourself up the arse. It's a fucking great day. It's a sort of anti-depression song, I think.
Love it.
And getting unstuck from depression, because depression's, it's a killer. And people go, oh, fucking exercise. Who wants to exercise when you've got clinical depression? But because you don't, do you? You just want to sort of lie in your room and feel miserable and all the rest of it. But all the look at any self-help guides and they all kind of go, get your endorphins working.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of think it's about. And I think it was kind of and I definitely know the whole of that album. I mean, it's not that cheerful to listen to, but there are some cheerful tracks.
Yes, yeah, that's the diversity of the album was something that it was similar to Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and something that I think draws a lot of people to that album compared to like Disintegration, which is a different mindset. So,
as I say, I didn't mix it, and so don't ask. I mean, I'm not saying I got problems with the mix, but a lot of the kind of wild, a lot of the wilder, more psychedelic, more disintegration-y elements were lower. Yeah, were lower on that, lower than they would have been if probably I'd been mixing it.
Yeah.
But that's probably the right thing to do, because you can't do the same shit all the time.
Yeah.
And the songs were all different. I kind of thought it was probably, I mean, one of the things you're supposed to do as a producer is to make stuff understandable to the great outside world. And Disintegration had been a big album. It's just totally like an artistic triumph, if not in big album in terms of, like Bon Jovi. It's a bad example. Or, they're not like, it's not like an 8 million seller, 9 million fucking Dark Side of the Moon, but it was an artistically really, really brilliant piece of work. So I was probably trying to, probably do those same tricks, I guess, same kind of production thing. I didn't want to lose that, because I kind of thought, well, that's your continuity, isn't it? From album to album, there's got to be some continuity, and there is continuity, as you said, between all the albums. There is a sort of an aesthetic going through. So I was probably trying to keep an aesthetic with that. And as I say, I think probably the work I did with Boris, we probably overdid it. We tried to sort of do something more intense than Disintegration, because you're always kind of looking for some way that you can stretch yourself. Even if you're buggering it up by doing that.
Had that ever happened with another album where there was a completely different direction that you like demoed, and then the band went a completely different?
No, not really. No, I don't have that big a brain, really, to be honest. I just don't. And as I say, I just kind of think that I don't have vision. I mean, it's difficult to say that, because the moment I say, well, I wanted Disintegration, and my feeling was I didn't want it to be shambolic, and I wanted it to be kind of a big slab of sound.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's vision. Yeah. It's not exactly like, Beethoven or something like that, and it's quite sort of banal. And although I kind of understood the songs were, I don't know, difficult, and it's hindsight's 2020, and I haven't even got 2020 about any of that stuff.
Well, I definitely think, especially with the perspective of 30 years on Wish, and thinking back, we had the Disintegration anniversary and all these fun anniversaries, or for whatever they're worth. One thing is, it's more apparent is just how timeless all those records are. And, as far as the cohesive sound is a huge part of that. But at the same time, I feel like all these could come out today and they would stand up.
It's great you say that. And I think it's because, I mean, it's one of those things, but I don't really give a fuck about what's going on. I never really have done, because I'm not competent enough to be able to weld the sound in any. That's my point about Mark Ronson, is massive competence to say, well, I'm going to make an Amy Winehouse record and we're going to purloin stacks. I can't do that. I'm not a good enough musician. I don't know enough about it. I'm not a DJ. There's whole bunches of stuff I don't know anything about. I don't give a fuck about. I'm not a spod about anything. I don't really do research. I just kind of assume you know, that I'm going to muddle my way through it. I don't really know anything. I'm not, you know, well, I learn stuff to do something, and then I'm not, you know, I don't really go back. It's very, very, you know, it's like the same thing nowadays. You know, I'll just kind of, if I have to do something, like I've done Vocaloid projects. Vocaloid's are kind of a singing software program. It's an absolute bitch to work. You spend hours trying to get something that still doesn't sound like a human being because it's basically it's Japanese, so it doesn't do English great. But I have managed to. I've done a few tracks, and I've managed to get them to sound like fucking metal singers. In fact, I sent one to a friend of mine who was going to mix it for me, and he said, "Who's singing on this?" And I'd already told him it was fucking Vocaloids, and he said. He said, "Oh, is it?" He said, "Because I've got a friend of mine who sounds exactly like this." But you know, once I've done that, I'm just kind of not. It doesn't get added into my kind of repertoire of things to do. And as I say, I think my kind of last 3 years of going into classical music is all going towards some sort of project in the future where I do have to do that.
Yeah,
you know, I have to kind of be really in that aesthetic, that have that sensibility to classical music in order to make something work. Hasn't quite happened yet, but I've got a feeling just based over my lifetime, I've kind of, when I get an instinct for something or I want to do something somewhere down the line, something happens which kind of go, oh, that's why you were fan about that. It's the Cassandra syndrome, you know the future and you tell people to say the future and no one listens and then the future happens. So
gotcha.
We got it documented here, so when you hit that all makes sense now.
Yeah.
That would be cool. So yeah, are you working on any current projects or anything that
not really, you know, I sort of do bits and pieces. I'm kind of 68 now.
Okay.
So I'm very lucky. I seem to still be able to hear everything okay. But I don't get offered kind of young bands because obviously by now there are 2 or 3 generations of people who kind of do what I do better in the modern world. I mean, like I've been on Pro Tools since 1994.
Yeah.
And I jumped early, very early. Was probably the first person certainly in London to have a 16-track rig. And but I ain't as good as someone who's been doing it for 3 years. I'm just not as fast. I've been on every version from version 3 or 2.5 or something all the way up to wherever we are now, and I just I don't want to keep fucking retraining. I mean, I don't know. It's the rule, isn't it? It's like basically the internet. It's like I've been on the internet for 25 or 30.
Right.
Yeah, and 1994 I had my first email.
Right.
And you know, so this kind of, but I'm still, I go back to where the search engines were just starting. I went to the leaving party of the first graduates from the Royal College of Art in London with all media degrees in web design. That was 95. Yeah. About 30 people came out. And I went to their leaving party and I sat with this group of guys, you know, who were all talking about how the future was search engines. And I just thought, this world is not for me because this is so fucking boring. And of course, you know, and then of course Google has eaten up all the Lycos web crawler. You know, I can't even remember half of them now. I'd have to go. Right. You know, Netscape have all gone. So, but somebody who's grown up now and who's say 20, they had smart boards when they were in infants.
Yeah.
You know, they've done everything on. You know, if I had an assistant called Samson for a few years, and this is a couple of years ago, and it was just brilliant because I'd go, oh Christ, how do I do elastic audio? I can't be bothered to learn it. Can't be bothered to. I need to do it now. I need to do elastic audio. Can you look up how to fucking do it? And that would take me probably half an hour to go to the relevant kind of YouTube, you know, tutorial because everybody has to do that, no matter how much they pretend they don't. But he'd be able to find it. It would take me fucking loads longer, and yet, you know, I've been doing it loads longer than he has.
Yeah,
because that's again the law, isn't it? You know, I mean, look at the ice skating, first woman to land a quadruple.
Yeah.
You know, now
always...
they only ever used to do doubles up to the 80s, and then they managed to get a triple in, and now you've got a woman doing it. You know, and I think they might be even up to. I'm not a big fan of ice skating. I'm just positing that as a, you know, because they started with a double as being the basic,
right? Yeah.
You know, this is a bit like I did a chemistry degree. I didn't get it, but I did a chemistry degree, and the stuff I was doing in the first year had been PhD 10 years before.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, but it's the law, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. Have you had many younger bands contact you kind of indirectly with the idea of like, I want to do a Cure sounding record or anything like that? You would? No?
Well, I don't really know. I just don't know. I don't really know what that means. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Just wondering.
In fact, when that started happening in the kind of late 90s.
Yeah.
You know, I go, well, it's a bit Cure-ish. They go, yeah. And then you kind of go, well, they go, can you get me that guitar sound like we had there? And I go, well, yeah, if you want to stick it in a PV cab, get Robert Smith down and get one of his guitars. You know, I mean, I know he plays that custom built. I can't remember who makes that.
The Jazz
Schecter, is it?
Oh yeah, the Schecters. Yeah.
Schecter's of Wayne Hussey's got some Schecter stuff. I did an album with Wayne Hussey about 4 or 5 years ago called The Bible, called something I can't quite remember now. And I was in Brazil doing overdubs with him, and I said, "Oh, why don't you ever get out that Fender 12-string?" I said, "You know, it's like, is that Schecter much good?" And he said, "Hey, I've got that 12-string Strat." No, he got it out and he plugged it in and it sounded shit, and he plugged the Schecter in and it sounded great. And I went, "Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, okay." Yeah. Because you forget about what a fight it was to get anything to sound anything.
Yeah.
You know. And then, so guitar. And obviously, of course, it just means that Robert can play one guitar for the whole show rather than fuck about. And it's probably, you know, I mean, just that big Gibson that he played, the Disintegration 335 or whatever it is. I mean, what a fucking weighed a ton.
Yeah.
I've had 3 hours of that on stage. I know that when he did the tour, he took the big plank of wood that holds the whole thing together. He got that taken out.
Oh yeah.
So you could actually physically.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And who wants to carry that for 3 hours? Look at that. It's a fucking hell. It's a beast of a gig. He was doing 3 or 4 hour shows.
Yeah.
That, you know.
That's fun.
So we had that taken out.
Clever. Yeah.
So I kind of went from kind of thinking that shit, yada yada, what's it about? And then kind of, you know, I was put in my place by by Wayne.
Right on.
He also had a line 6 guitar as well. I was going, line 6 guitar, Wayne, really? And he was going, it's just fucking great for certain sounds, like, you know, pull it off the rack, plug it in. Sitar. What am I going to get? It sounds better than a choral sitar, Dave. And I was going, well, it does. Yeah, it does sound better than a choral. Okay, all right. Yeah. You know, we all can be old duffers and just kind of go, oh, the old days were really good. That's really not so certain. And like I say, you know, like that Hyde Park gig, it's just fucking brilliant. And I certainly didn't. Yeah. I didn't care if he went to the Vox Teardrop for one song and then put a 335 on for Disintegration and then put something else on. I mean, you can't operate like that. And not only that, you're carting around, you know, 200,000 or 300,000 pounds worth of guitars in cases.
Yeah.
How long's that going to go on for?
Exactly.
You know, someone nicks them all, or you know. Well, who wants to do that? You know. It's gone. So all power to his elbow. Literally.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you too long.
Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. This was informative, and we learned a lot of stuff we didn't learn before, and it was very eye-opening.
If only we had time, I could show you some of the magic tricks.
Oh, we got time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, how you amuse bands when something's broken down.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Which actually, I am pretty good at that when things, you know, you have a hiatus. I call it tap dancing from the musical Chicago. Where you have to go into your dance.
Right on.
Well, it's great finally talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so
yeah.
much.
Yes,
And
thank you.
yeah, I can't appreciate it enough. And like I said, you know, you've been the man of mystery that connects all the dots for us. And we're like, I don't know, this Dave Allen dude, he's the one. Because
does he exist? Does he smoke a pipe?
So
Well, anyway, I'll be contacting you guys because a French company discovered the demos that I did in 1980 before I started working at the studio that I worked in. Pretty much the first album I did was a Human League album called Dare.
Oh, yeah.
And I did a bunch of demos and all the same equipment
Oh, cool.
Wow.
in 1980, and I'm calling it the DNA of DMA. And
Nice.
a French company heard this on my Bandcamp site and just went, wow, it's amazing, we'd like to put this out. So you'll probably be hearing back from me for some publicity about that.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I got
That'd be
Record
great.
Store Day, 23rd of April for it, and which for a bunch of demos, well,
Yeah.
where mostly I'm playing everything and singing
Nice.
my very little best, like Prince did a few years later.
Awesome.
And mixing it and producing it. In fact, funnily enough, the distributor picked a song which kind of nobody else has ever kind of picked and said, "Oh, this would be the good focus track," and that must be my first ever production.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sort of like, you know, it's 41 years ago, so
Yeah.
I missed the Human League anniversary,
Yeah.
but it's you know, got to plough that heritage forward somehow.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's
But,
amazing.
you know, I was just,
Definitely.
I've been knocked out by, you know, the fact that sort of somebody just was really interested. And I know it's a kind of historical kind of thing, you know, much like this is. I know it's kind of like filling in a bit of an informational gap, or it's just an interesting part, because obviously there were loads of people fucking about with electronics. But ironically enough, it is pretty much all the same equipment that went into that album. So it's sort of reminiscent. You kind of go, Christ, it's this early Depeche Mode, bad Depeche Mode, or, you know, without the songwriting. Well, without Martin Gore's songwriting.
Yeah.
I'm not comparing myself to Martin Gore or Phil Oakey or Robert Smith, but you know, one of the things I did come from the punk era, and one of the punk things is you have a right to do. You don't have a right for everyone to like it.
Exactly.
That's why they used to spit on people. But you have the right to do.
Yeah.
And I still stick to that. Everybody has a right to do.
For sure. Yeah, well, I can't wait. That'll be awesome. Yeah,
lovely to speak to you guys. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we really appreciate it.
We'll be in touch. And, yeah, can't thank you enough. I hope you have a good rest of the week there, and stay safe.
See you later on.
Thank you.
Great to speak. Cheers. Bye.
Good to speak to you too. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right, guys. Cool, man. What'd you think? Pretty amazing.
I mean, just listening to the playback, I don't have the words to say how great it was. So
yes, again, thank you so much, Dave Allen. You're an amazing soul, and just incredibly humble. I'm surprised by both these guys of just how like awesome and sincerely humble, and like a, you know, like it's no big deal kind of thing. You know, like I kind of just love that idea of where I get tripped up on my super fandom of the idea of like these guys, you know, no matter what the choices were made or whatever, disagreed with Robert or Robert convinced them, you know, or whatever. Either way, whatever the final decisions were, those albums wouldn't be exactly what we hear without them, and you know, and without their input on them. So it's like, whatever it was, even if it was, you know, Robert talking him out of the idea, that's an impact on these albums that like means so much to us, and it's like so cool, you know. So just to have that, and so many cool little insights there that were just amazingly fun. Again, like with Phil, where he paints the picture of you just in the room there, him cleaning up after the top, you know. It's just so cool.
Those stories, I don't know, man. It's they don't, I don't know. I don't think they understand the impact that they have had on our lives. I mean, just speaking from you and me, but Cure fans in general, just like without them, because he mentioned, I don't know if you got it or not, but where he said, I was considering myself like a member of the band, almost. And it was just like, I mean, you just didn't do one album,
right?
Like, you did the beef of their illustrious career. You were part of, you were just as big a part of band as anybody else, so. And
I always kind of giggle when I say the golden era, but in a sense, it's fucking true. I mean, it might not be everybody's favorite era. Some people might like the super dark early stuff more, but at the same time, there's no real denying that wasn't the biggest stretch of albums for them. I mean, it's pretty insane. And just hearing, like the thoughts of in each album, going through that, that's what I really loved, was just going through like little visuals for each one, and like knowing that Disintegration was kind of a kick in the nuts of a process, and it was brutal, just like, oh man, and even all the way down to the bloody noses, that was great.
like that, like those little tidbit stories, you're just like, wow, like there's that's stuff that you'll like I've never heard before, and that only him and maybe Robert, or
they're not gonna put that in a magazine or anything, and it's not must anyway, it's just because it's a dry, cold ass room, but at the same time, you kind of parallel it with some Stranger Things kind of thing where the album's sonically so amazing that he's just bleeding. But it was great.
We got to try to have him on again to try just to talk about Disintegration. Like, I know we've beaten it to death, but just hearing him talk about Disintegration and the way that he did, I could listen to him talk about that album forever. And I'm never gonna look at the song Disintegration ever the same way again. That one story just fucking was like, you gotta be fucking. And I listened to it today, and I'm like, whew. I was, oh my god, I can't imagine doing that in 2 takes.
Like, he was just like, I remember hearing something in an interview where Robert said I had to wait for like the exact right moment or something, where it did make it sound like he was gonna do it all in a take, like he didn't want to comp it together with pieces of like, one take, but I mean, never would have imagined that it was like 2 actual just vocal, like, here we go, bam, it's done. It's just like, oh my god, you would think you would have to work like months on that, that's
I mean, just like I've listened to that song a million times, and I know all the lyrics, but I don't think I can sing that it by myself in the car without fucking up a few times. And doing it in it's mind-boggling, and the energy and emotion that went into it that he saw firsthand and described to us just kind of takes the song to a whole new level.
And I love that idea, and kind of going with that, and something that came up numerous times when he was talking about recording those albums back in the day, is like he seemed like a real believer of the don't fuck with it too much kind of school, and it's like really cool when you really dive into Cure context, like, and you start looking at the albums like Wild Mood Swings and 413 in particular, like the ones where they really spent like way too much time fucking around with stuff, and just how drastically different the overall feel is as opposed to all those ones. I think like Blood Flowers and even the self-titled one you could give a pass on. They are pretty cohesive, even though and I think they did for those albums go into a pretty set time frame, so I mean, I think there's a lot to be said with that, which kind of makes me worry now about the new album, because he's definitely had time to fuck with it, but who knows, maybe he's still being really cool about doing it in the one take, but it's just not on the same day or something, and it's like, who knows, but that was cool, like, just to hear him say, that there are bands that you could just fuck with it too much, and it's like, it seemed like a real capture it while it's pure and in its most sincere form, kind of.
Yeah, that's what it's very he's very big on, feels like, art in the moment.
Yeah.
And even if and he made the point, it was like he recorded, you record something and they want to get rid of it and try, do something else. He's like, well, let's hold on to it.
Yeah.
And he's just, we do it again and you get something else, we'll scrap it, but like let's just,
save
I'm
that
just like,
first take. Yeah.
I like that idea. I
Yeah.
like, so, but also, he seemed humble enough to be able to take direction and, but also give it. So yeah. And man,
yeah, you could see what a good
just be a fly on the
team.
wall, man.
Yeah, you could see what a good pairing they would be. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love too that the critic from Kiss Me calling them shambolic, like, and then he's like, well, fuck you, I'll show you, kind of tongue in cheek, and the idea of like that's why it went so sonic with the Disintegration being overly cohesive in a sense, but it's like, wow, man, yeah, if that critic hadn't said that,
Who
maybe
knows what we've gotten?
maybe it wouldn't have been that way. So we got to get that critic on the show and thank him for being an asshat.
Yeah, if anybody can find that review, send it to us, please. I'm gonna try to look for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody has it, send it to us. We want to read it, and try to find that person and thank them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sorry, got him riled up,
Jesus.
but at the same time, yeah, if it's if that's the outcome, then let's go.
That's a Michael Jordan-esque kind of like,
yeah, true.
like I took it personally, kind of thing, and it's just like, all right, you feel that way, I'm gonna
show everyone.
Watch this.
Yeah. Totally.
Jesus.
Yeah. And and I jotted down too, Caterpillar too, that he said that was all like basically finished in a day, like he'd gotten the drum tracks and stuff, and that's like, whoa, because you would think that was something that they could sit there and pick that apart forever. There's so many cool little noises going on and stuff. It's like, oh man, that's another in and out, quick, do it. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's I mean, just like the complexity of that song. I'm just like, I was like, that had to be, like he said, when like the time, I'm just like, come on, like you put that all together that quickly. Okay, whatever, all right. Like, no, I believe you. So
he is a wizard indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's just I hope that the Cure even has one more album left in them, and somehow they could cross paths again. I want to totally just somehow make that happen. It's like trying to get your divorced parents back together or something. And I know it'll never happen, but at the same time, I'm like, it's like, come on, guys. But
let's get that guy that wrote the review to write an article that says like David Allen and Cure will never make an album.
Yeah, it'll get him. Get him going. That's it.
Yeah,
that's the magic. And I gotta give Chaz credit. Good job trying to get some insight on that Wish Deluxe re-release. If he had an inside, I thought maybe they would have like contacted him if they were gonna put it out. Just be like,
that doesn't,
even if he's not going to be able to mess with anything new, they would give him a heads up because he's still going to be a part of the reissue of, even if they just put the same version out deluxe with stuff, you would think they would have contacted him. Maybe not though, but because he's still going to get like, royalties from that, I would assume.
Well, I'm sure he gets chunks of money from that, but I'm trying to think the last reissue for an album that he would have done
was Disintegration.
Like a major one was Disintegration. 2010 or 11. But I mean, he didn't mention anything about it. But I don't know if they're going to contact him on it. Robert has everything. But that was. I feel like he was taking it as like I don't know, a personal question. And I was just like. It was more of like the fans are so into this, the idea. Do you think it could ever happen? And like it was like I didn't want to put him on the spot to give it to us or anything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would take it.
Yeah. And it's too late for him to throw it on there now if there is one coming out in April. But at the same time, I was just curious if he knew anything about it coming out.
That bums me out, and it bums me out even more to think of a Disintegration-esque Wish album. Yeah. And I thought about it all day today at work.
Yeah.
And I was going track by track. And like I was just like,
this could have been.
Can you imagine like as good as Letter of Release is, like in that type of like sound, like what that would be like? And I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of made me sad.
Yeah.
Because like Wendy Time is a perfect example. Like that, like a slowed down version of that completely changes that. I mean, that it completely changes the album and makes it a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't. Oh man.
Well, I guess we'll leave it at that and leave it up to you guys to ponder. I definitely want to listen back to it about 10 more times just to see. I feel like there's a lot of little things I didn't quite catch, or like I'm just caught up in the moment. I think there's going to be a lot of little extra nuggets in there. So I strongly advise all you guys out there to listen to it at least 5 times too. And
there were so many times where I was trying to catch up on his references that I was missing what the next thing he was going on and talking about. He's a bit of a rambler.
Yeah, but it was great. That's like, I was just so paranoid of the no kind of answer, or the nah. I'm like, actually, so I'll take a fun ramble any day. So
that was great.
Lord knows I do it. So get a bunch of ramblers together. This is what happens on the whole.
I just sit back and listen. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I guess thanks so much again for making that happen, and pretty amazing. So greatly appreciate it. I don't know how we're gonna top this.
And see what I have next.
Yeah.
Ross Robinson.
We'll see what else is on. We'll do another. We'll do a mystery caller or something. Yeah.
We'll finally get Matthew Hartley.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go there. But thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the ride out there. And again, just a giant thank you, David Allen, and we really appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully keep in touch, and and everybody check out Dave Allen's own tunes and bands that he's played with throughout the years. He's got a Bandcamp site. It's Dave's Takeaway .bandcamp.com, and you can check those out there and hear some of his own tunes. And we'll also keep you posted on that record store release day he was talking about at the end there of his early demos done on the Human League gear. So lots to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So all right, well, signing off, and I'll say talk hard. I know I'm keeping you long here, but just a quick shout out to our Patreon as the credits roll. Namicio, Donna, Craig, Jeff Hilton, Jeff Cortland Jones, Suzanne, John, Ben, Allison, Alan, Dione, Scott, Lisa, Kate, and Matt. I hope you guys are all doing good, and thank you so much for being part of the Patreon crew. If anybody out there would like to join our Patreon crew, just visit patreon.com/The Holy Hour Podcast, and you can see the whole scoop there. We'd love to have you, and be sure to subscribe on Apple or YouTube, all that stuff. You can check out our Instagram page at The Holy Hour Podcast, and check out the Facebook page where we'll put links to other Dave interviews that we've scrounged up and some other little tidbits, and of course his tunes that we just talked about. So all that's over at Facebook. If you want to get in touch with me directly, email me at gavinconnor@gmail.com. And of course, check out 17secondshirts.bigcartel.com, where you can find the latest and greatest designs set up by Chaz. You can also check out Kate's page, curethreads.com, where you can get some awesome original Cure-inspired clothing and Disintegration products. You can also donate your blood at the Blood Cross Blood Donor app. It's free and easy to use. Matt would like you to check that out on behalf of the world so you can help donate some blood. And of course, Dickens YYC is where you'll find awesome people like Lisa checking out the latest live stream from the nightclub Dickens up in Calgary, Canada. But yeah, just going over to Twitch and sign up for notifications so you can catch the latest live streams. And last but of course not least, our dear friend Scott Kruger over at the Sarlacc Digest has a wonderful live show on YouTube every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time, where they hash out all the juicy details of what's going on in the Star Wars universe. So if you're into Star Wars, there's no excuse. Go check it out. You're going to love hearing these guys analyze every little bit about a galaxy far, far away. All right, that's all for now. We do have a wonderful episode coming up next, so keep your boots strapped in. We got more on the horizon, and I'll talk to you then. Talk.